गाय नमः। ओम नारी सम्मोहना कृतये नमः। ओम नाद ब्रह्मरसास्वादिने नमः। ओम नागभूषण भूषिताय नमः। मूर्तिकंदर्पाय नमः। ओम मूर्तामूर्त जगत्पपुषे नमः। ओम मूलाज्ञानतमोभानवे नमः। ओम मूर्तिमत्कल्पपादपाय नमः। ओम तरुणादित्य संकाशाय नमः। ओम तंत्रीवादन तत्पराय नमः। ओम तप्त जाम्बू तरुमूलैक निलयाय नमः। तप्त जाम्बू नद प्रभाय नमः। ओम तत्वपुस्सोल सत्पाणये नमः। ओम तपुनोजुपलोचनाय नमः। ओम यम संयुत सत्कीर्तये नमः। ओम यम संयुम संयुताय नमः। ओम यतिरूपधराय मौनिने नमः। ओम यतीन्द्रोपास विग्रहाय नमः। ओम मंदारहार रुचिराय नमः। ओम मदनायुत सुंदराय नमः। ओम मंदस्मितल सत्वक्त्राय नमः। ओम मधुराधर पल्लवाय नमः। ओम मंजीर मंजुपादाब्जाय नमः। ओम मणिपट्टोल सत्कटये नमः। ओम हस्तांकुरित चिन्मुद्राय नमः। ओम हठयोग परोत्तमाय नमः। ओम हंसयक्षाराढ्याय नमः। ओम हंसे द्वारात्युपादुकाय नमः। ओम मेरु शृंगतटोल्लासाय नमः। ओम मेघश्याम मनोहराय नमः। ओम मेधांकुरालवालाग्र्याय नमः। ओम मेधा फक्कुफलद्रुमाय नमः। ओम धार्मिकांतर्गुहावासाय नमः। ओम धर्ममार्गप्रवर्तकाय नमः। ओम धामत्रय निजारामाय नमः। ओम धर्मोत्तम मनोरथाय नमः। ओम प्रबोधोद्गार दीपश्रिये नमः। ओम प्रकाशित जगत्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञा चंद्रशिलाचंद्राय नमः। ओम प्रज्ञामणिवराकराय नमः। ओम ज्ञानांतरभासात्मने नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञादिविदुरगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञाद्वैत दिव्यांगाय नमः। ओम ज्ञातज्ञादिकुलागताय नमः। ओम प्रपन्नपारिजाताग्र्याय नमः। ओम प्रणतार्थप्तिवाडवाय नमः। ओम भूतानां प्रमाणभूताय नमः। ओम प्रपंचहितकारकाय नमः। ओम यत्तत्त्वमसि संवेद्याय नमः। ओम यक्षगेयात्मवैभवाय नमः। ओम यज्ञादिदेवतामूर्तये नमः। ओम यजमानवपुरधराय नमः। ओम छत्राधिपतिविश्वेशाय नमः। ओम छत्रसामरसेविताय नमः। ओम छन्दशास्त्रादिनिपुणाय नमः। ओम छलजात्यादिदूर्गाय नमः। ओम स्वाभाविकसुखैकात्मने नमः। ओम स्वानुभूतिरसोदधये नमः। ओम स्वाराज्यसम्पदध्यक्षाय नमः। ओम स्वात्माराममहामतये नमः। ओम हाटकाभजटाजूटाय नमः। ओम हासोदस्तारिमण्डलाय नमः। ओम हालाहलोज्ज्वलगलाय नमः। ओम हार्दग्रन्थिविमोचकाय नमः। ओम श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम श्री दयानंद सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम श्री महेशानंद सद्गुरवे नमः। Waiting for turning the TV on. We could put this back on this side. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishwaro Gururatmeti Murti Bhed Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadehaya Dakshina-murtaye namaha Kukarastvandhakaro vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andhakara-nirodhitvat Gururitya-vidhiyate Sadashiva-samarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvite daivi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us chant verses number 18, 19, 20 and 21. 18 through 21. Let's chant that. Number 18. Advaitam Paramartho Hi. Advaitam Paramartho Hi. Advaitam Paramartho Dvaitam Tadbheda Uchyate Tesham Ubhayatha Dvaitam Tenayam na Virudhyate Mayaya Bhidyate Hyetat Na Anyathajam Kathanchana Tattvato Bhidyamanehi Martyatam Amritam Vrajet Ajatasyaiva Bhavasya Jatimichanti Vadinaha Ajato Hyamrito Bhavaha Martyatam Katham Eshyati Martyatam Katham Eshyati Na Bhavatyamritam Martyam Na Bhavatyamritam Martyam Na Martyam Amritam Tatha Prakriter Anyatha Bhavaha Na Kathanchit Bhavishyati. Okay. So as you know, we are studying a prakarana, a section of the Karika, which is called Advaita Prakarana. Advaita Prakarana. And so this is after the Prakarana. All the Karika is to comment on the Mandukya Upanishad, which gives the reality of a way to understand the reality of our life. Because as you know, then the three states of consciousness, if you may, three ways of experiencing our own consciousness is the three different sections of the day, which is Jagrat Avastha, Sushupti Avastha and Swapna Avastha. And so we cycle through it every day. So therefore the hour and the days and the years are all very important, because it is designed specifically for, in the case of circling through. And as I mentioned in the Gita class, one of the things to think about is that the whole creation is done in the sense of a circle. It is constructed out of circles. The whole creation is nothing but a circle, series of circles. So just a commentary on the words that circle that I use, so I'll expand on that a little bit before we go to the main subject. So this should be thought over, and this should be seen, that the whole creation is in the form of circles. So even things that don't look like they are in circles, they are in circles. So so the whole thing is nothing but a pratiti. It's just it's the way of looking at things, the way it appearance. Pratiti means an appearance. The whole thing is in the form of a pratiti, but the progress in seeing the pratiti is to change from a randomness of the appearance, including straight lining of the appearance, into the next stage, which is the appearance of circles everywhere. So, as an example, we tend to view the human life as a straight line. Actually, it's sort of like a jagged line, but nevertheless, it's sort of like a beginning and an end. A line has the definition of a line is that it has a beginning and an end, and something happens in between. So exactly this is what lifestyle, the life profile of the life is. That's the word I was looking for. That's the profile of the life. So we tend to view people's lives in straight lines. This is why if you look at the obituary, as I was mentioning the other day, you find that there is a date of birth, then a dash, and a date of the of death. So we tend to view everything in those kinds of manners. Table. We tend to view it as a rectangular shape which has a horizontal surface raised from the ground. This is how we look at it. But if you reduce it to the next level of understanding, what you find is that it consists of nothing but circles. In fact, the entire creation is deliberately made in terms of circles. So the table is really nothing but a bunch of electrons moving around in circles, holding it all together. There are infinite number of electrons in this table. Infinite, I mean a very large number. Very large number of protons, electrons, all moving in circles. Your own body, your skin, your bones are nothing but circles. They are not visible to you. But one should understand that really speaking, behind what is seen to be a kind of a random view of lines and squares and rectangles and so on is nothing but circles. Excuse me. Human life also is a circle. This is the thing that I think we should really think about. It is not a straight line. It's not as though you have a beginning. Yes, the appearance is a straight line, just like the appearance of circles within this table is also a rectangle. So similarly, the appearance of human life is a straight line. But really speaking, what happens is you go on. You go on into forming a new body, and then taking birth in it, then and so on. It is nothing but a circle. In fact, The whole creation is a circle. This is an important thing to see. The whole creation is in a circle. Meaning what? Meaning it never has a beginning. So our thinking is, when did it begin? And appearance may be that it began. But in reality, the next level of appearance is that it is in circles. Anadihi. It has just been there forever. This is the swabhava of Ishwara. The whole thing is moving in circles. And you find that the earth is moving around the sun in circles. The sun is moving in circles. The moon is moving around. Everything is done in circle. So the circle meaning what? Circle meaning that there is no point where you can say this is where it began. A person drawing a circle may begin at a certain point, but that's forgotten. Ultimately, what you don't know when the circle was drawn. This is the basic creation of Ishwara. What an intelligent creation of Ishwara. No beginning, no end. It's just an appearance. So the human body is, the human life should be seen as a circle. So the sushupti avastha and the jagrata avastha, the waking state, etc., should be seen in circle. That really speaking, the way you are constructed is that at the end of the day, you're tired. Enough of relationships and food and all kinds of things and entertainment and so on. You now just go into a rest. And then you have an alternate life in Swapna Avastha. And then you go back to the same one, all over. So this is the Mandukya Upanishad, which is providing you with the basic elements of the circle. I think the vision of the Mandukya Upanishad is that a person's life should be seen to be in circles, a 24-hour circle. But the Atma is not part of the circle. Atma is observing the circle. But we just don't see that because I'm oblivious to the independent Atma. And so therefore I take myself also to be part of a circle. And this is the right way to look at it. First you look at lines, then you look at circles, then you look at the observer of the circles. And so this is the Prakarana, and so this is called the Advaita Prakarana. So the Advaita Prakarana is to do some thinking about what do you mean by Advaita? What do you mean? So we will spend some time today in clarifying. As the whole chapter, whole Prakarana gives, is the very definition of Advaita. What do you mean by Advaita? What do people think about it? How do you respond to what people think about it? What's your view of it? So let's look into that. That is the meaning of this chapter. So with that in view, if we look at non-duality, Advaita, what it means is, to a normal human being, Advaita is seen to be an absence of duality. This is how the normal person begins, and nothing is very expected. So we all should start with that, but we don't end up there. Advaita doesn't mean an absence of duality. but it means despite duality. This is what we have to see. This is the higher level of knowledge. That there is in fact a higher level, a greater set of truth in which the duality becomes meaningless. And so this one is important. I'm summarizing, and this is what I'm going to try to do from all the classes, is that after reading all this, to summarize it in some way. So one summary I wanted to show was that this thinking persists not only amongst this thinking is there for a beginning person who has not inquired into it. Because our normal thinking is that there should be an absence of duality. And how is it there is an absence of duality? I am not experiencing any absence of duality except in deep sleep. In deep sleep there is absence of duality. But really the one that I am concerned with is my swapnavastha and my jagratavastha, waking state and dream state. There is no absence of duality. And so therefore, as we will see later on, this is an important point, there can be thinking that there are two states of the human being. One is a non-dual, which is a deep sleep state, and a dual, which is in the other two states. Why don't we do it like this? In fact, this is how we look at our life, and also this is how scholars of certain schools of thought also say that the nature of the Atma changes in these states. One time it is non-dual, another time it is dual. A lot of discussion is going to come just on this basis. So anyway, what I'm saying is that this view that the duality, the absence of duality alone is non-duality, comes in two forms. One form is people that don't know, have not thought about it, no analysis has been done. It also comes about in the minds of people that know but have not done mananam enough. Because really the whole issue of the problems in our life is how do we give reality to our experiences. It is the crux of it, really. To what degree we provide reality to our experiences. And this is what happens, you can see this when children behave. We see them behaving where you don't see the problem, but they do. Very often, I tell you, this is such a beautiful thing to see. You take a 2-year-old who's just been walking around, or 3-year-old. It just happened to be this fresh in my mind. One of our relatives has a girl who's like 2 or 2.5. And one of her friends visited. This happened about a month ago. Very predictable. She also has a daughter about 3-year-old. And they were just bored and moving around and saw some dolls lying around in this beautiful room. And she just liked it and she just kept it. This 2.5-year-old, our own family's person, got absolutely worried. Oh my God, this girl is going to take my doll away. She started to grab. The other person would not let go. And there was now crying and so on. Now, in all this, the parents are amused. And they're saying, baby, it's okay, we'll get you another one. Then there are some problems. But the thing is that the children feel, and this is like if the balloon bursts, just see the expression of the children, how seriously they take it, and they cry. And they should. But from the standpoint of the adults, why is she crying about a burst balloon? Or why is she crying because of the somebody else's doll? So you don't see that as the real problem. This is just a kind of a play. But the child doesn't see that. In the same way, we see problems in our life. Health problems, relationship problems, money problems, all kinds of serious problems. And the Vedanta sees that as really childish, inconsequential. Absolutely doesn't make any sense at all because it is not real. Just like after waking up, you don't see the dream to be real, you don't even think about it, you can't even remember it. Similarly, Mandukya points out that really see the similarity of the waking state. It's exactly the same. Don't be too upset about it. And the attitude of Vedanta is what is called, Swami Dayananda used to say that it's called Prasanna Gambhiryam. Prasanna Gambhiryam means that you have an amused look at it. And you take it seriously only because some things need to be done. It's just like watching a play. You have an amused look at it. So this is the issue that we have. So that means, going back to this, that if we do not understand Advaita adequately, because we have not done the mananam, then this view persists even for those people, for us that have not done the mananam enough. So just a vidya is not enough. It is really how you internalize it, live off of it, and now you see it as a reality. So this is the thing. So now that's the beginning of it. Based on that, then the analysis is being given. Good, now I'm putting more space between them so I can raise it up.
At least 10 lines.
10 lines, yes, good. So now you can see this. And also it's higher, so hopefully people are okay. So let's look at number 18. In 18, as we saw, let's quickly go through, I think we can finish all of this. Advaitam paramartho hi dvaitam tad bheda uchyate tesham ubhayatha dvaitam tena ayam na viruddhyate. Okay. So there it says that Dvaitam is taken to be the reality, which is what everyone... Dvaitam means that taking the various things in our life seriously. That's another way of looking at saying we look at it as Dvaitam. What does you mean by looking at it as Dvaitam? Meaning that my changes, my relationships, my problems, my issues are taken to be normal and real in life and so on. That's the pratiti, that's the appearance of things. And based on that, the question is, and of course, everyone needs to have some wisdom in life so that you can go along with it and solve your life's problems. This is exactly what everyone is doing. We are trying to figure out how best to balance the various issues that confront us and do the best we can to respond to it. And we take it seriously, and then we have discussions with each other. I think we should do this. I think you should do that. I think, accepting God is important. Doing puja is important. And which kind of religion we should follow. and who is the most convinced. All of these kinds of schools of thought go on. And of course there is disagreements, there is quarrels. And in fact, in some way I will discuss this even later on. This is what is called schools of thought, which can be translated as sampradaya. Sampradaya can be taken as to be, what is your sampradaya? And even within Hinduism, leave aside non-Hindus, even within Hindus, there are different sampradayas. There are sampradayas which is a Devi sampradaya, that you have to believe in a Devi. And there is Hanuman sampradaya, and there is Vaishnava, there is Shaiva, and there are so many different Vishishtadvaita. And as we will see later on, they consider Advaita also to be a sampradaya. And if you go to some of the religious towns like Haridwar or Kashi, and you start discussing this with people, they'll say, what is your sampradaya? What is your sampradaya? So the sampradaya means my way of looking at duality. What is the nature of human being, where to go, all of that is what is taken to be. There we say, this is not true. Strictly speaking, purely speaking, Advaita is not a sampradaya, even though we sometimes use it, that you have to belong to a sampradaya, we use it in that sense, internally. Advaita is not a sampradaya. Why not? Why is it not a sampradaya? Because it is the basis of all sampradayas. It is the content, it is the adhisthana of sampradayas. It's kind of like saying, what kind of waves do you like? Do you want large waves, threatening waves, or you want surfing waves, and so on. So the water is not opposed to any kind of waves. It is really the very content of all the waves. And this is an important thing to see, because people say, do you say that consciousness is knowledge? So we say, yeah. We say consciousness is knowledge. That means ignorance does not belong to consciousness. Why not? Because ignorance is the opposite of knowledge. So you cannot have darkness and light at the same place. You cannot have darkness and light at the same place. Either you have one or the other, but not both. And you are saying that Atma has ignorance? How is that possible? It's possible because there is ignorance and knowledge at one level, and there is consciousness, all jnanam, at a higher level. Because this is a very important example, which is that if you don't know the German language, you cannot tell I don't know German unless you have knowledge. You cannot say, you can say, do you know English? You'll say, yes, I know English. So there it is no problem, because knowing of English is also knowledge, and your nodding your head is also knowledge, so both of them are consistent. But if I tell you, do you know German? And you say, no, I don't know German. You cannot even tell that you don't know German unless your basic nature is knowledge. Because you know. I know that I don't know. So the I know, the awareness, the consciousness, can have specific ignorance. It allows it. Similarly, Advaita allows Dvaita. So therefore, Advaita and Dvaita are not opposed. They are not at the same level. My friend, this is what Gaudapada ji is saying. Please see this clearly. And it has so many implications. In fact, let's go on. So this purely speaking, Advaita is not a sampradaya. I mentioned that earlier. So it is said that really we should not get into a debate. We don't need to get into a debate with Dvaitins. Which is the right one? You say no. This is because it's like fighting with a child. They have a different view of things. They see reality in something. You cannot even get in. This is why the parents, if there is some kind of a problem between the dolls, they don't really get angry. They are amused. Be amused. Don't get angry. How can you do this stupid thing? This is just a doll and you are crying about it. This is not proper. Because at that level, she sees it as a reality. A boy looks at trucks as a very important thing. Nobody should have it. You don't look at it that way. So it is not a question of quarrel between Advaita and Dvaita. It doesn't make any sense at all. This is why I think the other day one of the students in the Dakshinamurti class was saying that she was in some kind of a interfaith meeting, or I think she belongs to it, and the whole question was creation. How did creation begin? And she was saying that, so what do I tell them? I said, you know what I tell you? Don't go to those conferences at all. Because whatever you tell them will not be understood. They will laugh at you. If you tell them there is no real creation, what are you going to do? They will all leave. They say, please, you leave. We are all here to discuss different types of creations. We are not here to discuss that there is no creation, because we see it right in front of us. So the best way is not to even be done with it. It's like having 3 or 4 children that are discussing which doll is better, which doll is better. Let them discuss it. It's okay. So another reason is that for a Dvaitin, to be critical of Advaitin is not rational. They are, but doesn't make any difference. Doesn't give us any problems. But why it is not, we should understand for our own reasoning, not for convincing anybody. It is not rational. Why is it? Because Atma does not lend itself for a pratiti. And so this topic is taken up in great detail by Swami Maheshanand, so I'm just not going into all of that. But he was saying that you only have Brahma towards Anatma. You don't have a Brahma towards Atma. You just don't know the Atma. And the Brahma towards Anatma is because you don't know the Atma. But you don't, no one, Swamiji says, nobody says, you know, I have a feeling that I am Brahman, Ishwara, but I have some doubts about it. No one says that. You don't even know there is Brahman. You don't know there is there is no difference between you and Brahman. this topic is given up very well in the Panchadashi, where there is a word used, kutastha. Kutastha is a word used, a very beautiful analysis in Vidyaranya. Starts with, I think, almost like the second or third chapter and goes all the way up to. Then in the 8th chapter, which I am currently revising and studying and thinking and analyzing, it is called Kutastha Prakaranam. So the word Kutastha means one which is unchanging. Unchanging. So our thinking needs to be directed towards the unchanging nature of myself rather than the changing nature of myself. So that is called Kutastha. Then later on, the Kutastha is equated to Brahman, the Atma. So, which is just diverging from the main one. Why this was important is this is a way to sort of educate ourselves. So, Swami Vidyaranya has given this example that take the example of a clay pot. Now the clay pot has space outside of it and it has a space inside of it. So for analysis, don't make the jump that the whole thing is nothing but space. That's too much for a person to understand. That I am sarva vyapakaha is not something that I can easily grasp. My mind protests and says, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense. So do not jump straight away to space. What you should do is to take a step by step. Like supposing there is a person with a consciousness called a pot. Supposing the pot is a person, which is exactly our situation, by the way. We don't have to imagine it. So we are really a living pot. The only difference between us and the pot is that the pot doesn't have Sukshma Sharira and we have Sukshma Sharira. That's it. Otherwise, I am a living example of a pot with a changing body and something inside. Anyway, so the example given by Swami Vidyaranya is that if the pot had consciousness, and of course in our case we have lots of issues with because that pot is just a small example. In our case, our pot is breaking down. And we are very worried about it. And our pot can be hit. Just yesterday I was just sitting on my desk and now I take these blood thinners. And so all of a sudden I reached for something and there was a very sharp corner and before I know it, my blood just started to spurt out. I had a hard time my shirt got spoiled and so on and so forth. So the pot is very vulnerable. This is the kind of pot that we have. And so now in that situation, what Swami Vidyaranya says, forget about the total space which is akin to Brahman. You just argue with the pot that, hey Mr. Pot, don't you see that you have some pot space? Forget about the other space. You just talk about the pot space. The pot space is called Kutastha. Why should we do this? Because you can tell the pot, Mr. Pot, listen, this pot space cannot be sullied. Part space is also part of you, isn't it? They will say, yes, yes, part space is part of me. So similarly, so this is what is called Jivatma. So Jivatma means that I know that I have, this is exactly, the Jivatma is the one that we explained when we said you don't know German. You see, this is exactly the same thing. When you say that, don't you know that your knowledge is above knowledge and ignorance? Don't you see that you are always knowledge? Yeah, this I can see. I know, everything is I know. This consciousness, that I am the very nature of consciousness, this much I know. But I don't know this consciousness is something which is totally independent of time and space and vastu. This much I don't know. Don't think about that. You just think about your own consciousness, Jivatma. Don't you see that the Jivatma is independent of all changes? Yes, this I can say. So don't you see that the space within you, Mr. Pot, is changeless? Yes, this I can say. That your body keeps breaking down, but you, the consciousness, is unchanging? Yes, this I can see. Good. Then the next step is that the Kutastha and the Brahman is one and the same. So you can postpone that until now, but just concentrate on the non-changing nature of you, the Jivatma. The Jivatma and Paramatma are the same. So Tatpada Vachya and Tvampada Vachya are the same. Or Tatpada Lakshana actually is the same. But postpone it for a while. At least grapple with this is why in Vedanta this is an important thing, that really a understanding of my own situation is a very good start. I leave Paramatma, Ishwara alone for a while, but let me just understand my own situation. But if I do a good job of it, then it will make it easier for me to understand Paramatma also. So that being the case, back to this, Atma is not a pratiti. Because all of our analysis, all of our discussions in terms of Dvaita, all of our issues of life, Sukha Dukkha, relationships, health, all those kinds of things have nothing to do with the Atma. So Atma is not something that you can observe in front of you, because it is the very observer which is in and through all your observations. And so therefore we say that if there is a Dvaitin who were to question Advaita, they have no basis whatsoever. Because the only basis for quarrels and discussions and so on and so forth is pratiti. And Atma cannot have a direct pratiti. Anyway, this is one of the points to see. And this is pointed out by the word avyavaharyam, which we saw in the 7th verse of the Mandukya Upanishad. Avyavaharyam. Avyavaharyam means it is not available for transactions. You cannot give Atma to anyone or take Atma or anything, because it is common to everybody. So it is avyavaharyam, not a pratiti. And then I talked about the sampradaya. So now the discussion goes to, before we go to verse number 19, this is another point that Swami Maheshwaranji makes so well, is that he says that, so the fact that the Advaita is not opposed to Dvaitam is not only pointed out by Shastra, because there are really As you know, there are three sources of knowledge. Not knowledge, but three sources of understanding. One is Shruti, one is Yukti, and the third one is Anubhava. We have seen this over and over again. So something which is a line between these three. What do the wisdom of the Shastra tells us, and is it reasonable, and is it consistent with my own experience? When this happens, you are in good shape. You are on the highway to solving the problem. So this fact about the Advaita and Dvaita, etc., is not only pointed out by Shruti, but it is also subject to Yukti. Yukti means my rational thinking. It seems reasonable. How? It says that, don't you see that Dvaitam is the result of Advaitam. Karyam, it is a karyam of Advaitam. Advaitam is the karanam and Dvaitam is the karyam. Don't you see that? I said, how? When you go to sleep, it is Advaitam. Totally Advaitam. Because the Jivatvam itself is resolved into the seed state. And when you wake up, it becomes Dvaitam. It appears to be Dvaitam. And then you can go back to sleep also. Dvaitam can be resolved into Advaitam. If Dvaitam was real, you'll never be able to go to sleep. Never. You will always be Advaitam. And so one can argue from this point that if you say that if Dvaitam was real and I will not be able to go to sleep, why don't you? I argue that if Advaitam is real, I will never have Dvaitam, then I'll never even wake up at all. Do you reverse the charge that you have against it? No, you cannot say that. Because, as we've been saying, Dvaitam is really a pratiti. It is never real. Never real. Here, Swami Maheshanji gives the example. Our traditional example is that of the rope and the snake. That if you see a snake nest, doesn't mean there is real one. You have to see what is the reality. Another example given is a defect in the eye when things look dual. There are two chandramas, two moons seen. In fact, there is only one moon. So the seeing of the two moons is not real. It is due to some defect. So similarly, you cannot say that the Dvaitam and Advaitam are on the same level. That's not true at all. So that's the basis of the discussion on the verse number 18. Now let's go to number 19. It's pretty much the same, but you should see that sometimes if you're reviewing the verse itself, Mayaya bhidyate hi etat na anyatha ajam kathanchana tatvatah bhidyamane hi martyatam amritam rajet. So the whole discussion here is that, listen, if the Atma is to be, well, let's just do it systematically. So here there's a good point. One is that the Karana always is inherent in the Karya. Right? So the effect has the presence of the cause at all times. So when the clay becomes a clay pot, then even in the pot the clay is still there. You cannot have a clay pot without clay. This being the case, when you see Dvaitam, why don't we see Advaitam? If you say that the Dvaitam is the effect of Advaitam, which is the cause, and I agree with you, that's how it should be. And if you say this, then Advaitam should also persist in Dvaitam. But it doesn't. Our experience is that I may be without problems when I'm in deep sleep. But immediately on waking up, my problems start. That's the meaning of Dvaitam. Dvaitam means problems. So, what happened to the non-problematic state? It is no longer present in the waking. Exactly, this is what happens. You'll say, oh gosh, I had such a nice sleep. Why do I have to now I have to go to office at 7 o'clock on Monday morning? This is why they say the weekend was so nice. Why can't the weekend issue also, as soon as the week starts, then the weekend issues disappear? So as in they must be, both of them must be real, as in sleep and waking. Because that's not so. Because the birth of Dvaitam is what is called Mayiki, not Vastavaki. It's Mayiki. There is no real change from Advaita to Dvaita. It just appears to be. This is how the Srishti is given. This is kind of like a puzzle. And once you solve the puzzle, then the solution of the puzzle is to see that the solution of the problem, the solution of the whole issue is to see that Dvaitam is Mayiki, not Vastavaki. Vastavaki means really. The Advaitam is real, the Dvaitam is not real. This is the puzzle that we have to see. And we struggle with it. Wow, really? This, that, or the other? We have discussions, quarrels, all kinds of things. Sampradayas. What can we do? You can discuss it all you want, but this is the issue. And that's the basis of the verse number 19. And supporting that is the point that Atma cannot have a real birth. Advaitam means the Atma, cannot have a real birth. It cannot really become Dvaitam. Because one can say, in some ways you can say that the clay is Advaitam, because it's just a lump. There's no differentiation in the clay. It's all one lump. There is no parts, there is no surahi, there is no different kinds of cups, tumblers, or nothing. It's Advaitam. But the Advaitam can become Dvaitam. So this view, and in fact this is a very serious view, because the Vishishta Ramanujan's Vishishta Advaita believes this. He says, why don't we just take it that the Advaita was one state and then it became another state. And as we will see in a minute, this is first of all not true. In fact, I tell you what, I'll come back to it. Let me just finish all these things. So now in verse number 20, 21 and 22, I thought that we would only stop at 21, but we can even do 22. Yeah, so let's chant 22 also, and that is also part of this whole thing. Number 22. Swabhavena mrito yasya bhavo gacchati martyatam kritakenamritastasya katham sthasyati nischalaha. So this whole reasoning, we can now combine 19, 20, 21 and 22 into kind of an overall concept. So the concept is that why don't we accept that we can change our basic status? This is exactly what the religions of the world promise, by the way. So this is not theoretical. It's not theoretical. It is very realistic that the religions of the world promise that, and especially Islam, really, I think out of all the religions, is that spouses. So the spiritual appeal of Islam is, it says, first of all, isn't your life miserable? And there is nobody that says no. Perhaps somebody can be brave enough, but they are not brave enough to say that. They say, no, I'm okay. So you start with the fact this life is miserable. You have a miserable life. Your nature is that of a miserability. Don't you dislike miserability? Yes. Do you want a way to become non-miserable? Yes. Okay, then follow me. When am I going to find? You're not going to find lack of miserability while you're alive, but if you go to heaven, which I promise you, you got to do the following things, then you will become non-miserable. So look at the underlying concept in this appeal. The underlying concept is that you have two states. You have a miserable state and a non-miserable state. Nobody will say that you have a non-miserable state even now. They say, no, this is a miserable state, isn't it? So everybody agrees, yes, that's true. And really, Islam is just an example. Really, basically all religions of the world, including the interpretation of Hinduism itself, in the case of Vaishnavas and Shaivas, exactly the same thing. It's not any different. That you go and you become moksha by sitting next to Vishnu and all those kinds of things. Anyway, so there are two issues with this approach, two problems, two untruths. First of all, it is not true. Not true. What can we say? We have to just tell you this is not true. The second one is that if you believe that what is possible by changing the state, what is to say that you will not go back to the same state again? you have accepted the fundamental aspect of change. That change is possible. But if you believe that, then you can always go back to the original one. The Bhagavad Gita says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu, that one which is born must die. And one which dies can be reborn again. So we say it's not possible. One which is the swarupa of something, and here we can even use the word swabhava. Swabhava and swarupa in this context are one and the same. So for example, the fire can never become cold. Never. Maheshananji says, funny example, he says, somebody said, please bake some papad. Is there an English translation of papad?
Wafer.
Huh?
Wafer.
Wafer?
No,
So it's hard to say, but papad is papad. So they say, you can tell someone, I'd love to have papad. And so Swamiji was talking about the days when you didn't have electricity and and all that. It was real fire. So you would just make in a small chula some fire. So the person says, I want some poppers. So the person says, I'm sorry, the fire has become cold. It's not enough to bake the popper. I'm very sorry. So why not? Can't you say that the fire has become cold? That means that the fire can change its state from being hot versus cold? No. That just means that the holder of the fire, which is wood in this case, has burnt out. There is no expression there is no manifestation of the fire. That you can say, but you cannot say that the fire has become cold. The fire is always hot, always. That's the very nature of the fire. And this is the thing about all the Pancha Mahabhutas, that whatever their nature is, they never give it up. The combinations can change. All combinations, so this is called Bhautika. Bhutas is the original elements, and the elementals are called Bhautikas. The Bhautikas means that the combinations can change, but the elements, this is why they call Pancha Mahabhuta. That in the entire creation, no matter where you are, when you are born, these Pancha Mahabhutas all remain the same. Whether you understand it, not understand it, you apply it and this and that or the other, 5 elements, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apaha and Prithvi, all remain the same. They don't give up their nature. So something which is the very swabhava cannot be changed. So now if you say that you have 2 states, one is a miserable state and one is a non-miserable state, the question is your swabhava a non-miserable state and the miserability was an imposition on it? Or is it the other way around, that your basic nature is miserability and you can put some coat of paint on it? It is very obvious that our nature is non-miserability. This is the reason we can immediately go into a peaceful state when we are not doing anything at night time. So really miserability is an imposition, is the adhyaropa. When you do apavada of that, the original state remains. So therefore, we say that this view of Dvaita is not correct. That you can, Dvaita is nothing but an imposition. It is just an adhyaropa on that. So, to finish it off, we say that any school of thought that says that please believe in it and pralaya time you will be free is just fooling you, fooling themselves and fooling you. You are either free now and don't understand it, which is exactly the situation, or it will never happen. Never happen. So the crux of this whole thing is to understand the Advaita state is the very nature of Advaita. And so there it means that it is not the absence of Dvaita, but understanding of Dvaita as a mithya. Advaitam alone is satyam. Advaitam is mithya. They are not on the same level. And so therefore, that should be your own ascertainment. And there is no need to quarrel, to pick up sides, or just look upon it as an interesting expression of reality. So that's the concept that is being talked about here. And so with that I'll close. So this is a section of the Advaita Prakaranam, which is given in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And this I wouldn't say completes the package, but certainly highlights it enough so you have understanding. Om Swasti Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahisha Go Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So yeah, this is an interesting tool that we can use. I hope that's useful in understanding. I think one interesting thing in doing this is that you become more structured in the way you present the matter. But what I'd like to do is to still have some openness to the ideas, and I usually try to do that, even though you're following an outline. So this becomes kind of like a raga, but the artist can still have some freedom to, but at least you have some kind of a conceptual raga that you're following. So I like it. I think it's something that we will use Takes a little bit more time to prepare. You have to write it all down. But I think Raj doing this on the Word makes it a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I think eventually what I'll do is put it on OneNote and be able to scribble on top of that. I'll figure that out once we have changes. But I think it's good. It's,
Have you got the new office?
I haven't done it yet. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, if you can do that, you'll have the
Yeah.
ability to do it on Word also.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, if you want to do it that way, you can try it. Which one works for
Okay.
you.
No, I think once you told me that the Word works on the Chromebook, that is
Yeah, definitely works on the tablet.
yeah. I think that's very useful. So I'm going to get that. It's $95 for the year, so it's not that bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Oh, I have a question. You said, Swami Vidyaranya said the body is like a pot.
Yeah.
So it's a pot space, and this is outer space. For the time being, forget outer space and just look at your pot space as Atma.
Correct. Yeah.
So, you can, for me, it's really a problem still to look at everything as a dream and Vyavharik world when I'm living in the Vyavharik world.
Yeah.
So the message here is look at the Vyavharik world as maybe real, but don't get involved in mundane problems of the life. Am I correct? Like relationship. He said, she said, he did, she did, those kind of problems, just let it go,
Yeah.
right?
So yeah, it's interesting. What is said here in this discussion by Vidyaranya ji and elsewhere also, I can't remember. There was a very useful thing that was, I think that, because really all 3 or 4 books that I'm reading are with Swami Vimeshanand ji, so I don't know which one it was. But anyway, what he said was that there is a accusation that the Vedantins come under, which is that you are being selfish. You're being selfish. Really, you should be out there doing social service. There are people suffering, people that need your help. And all you're doing is studying about yourself. Okay? And so, don't think very highly of yourself. You're not. You are being selfish. Put aside the book and go out there and start helping people and be open and see what they're, visit hospitals, be a volunteer. Then you will realize what it is and so on. So Swami Vimeshanand says this is not a proper thing. You may not respond to it because people may not understand it, but for your own self. Oops, I didn't start this today. I just realized it. Sorry, you'll have to transfer the audio. Sorry about that. But for your own self, what you should say is, what you should see is, they discover the divinity within yourself. In fact, you've all heard of Swami Tadatmananda, right? He has his ashram near our main ashram. And at the inauguration of the new building and also the yearly the anniversary of the ashram, he was one of the speakers. And he made a very good point. He's a good guy. He's very excellent. What he was talking about is that we are living in very I'll come back to it. Haven't forgotten your question. So we are living in very strange times with the kind of political situation and so on, where there's so much antagonism, so much non-difference, so much difference between people and so on. So what he said was that this is a very beautiful time for us to discover divinity in people. So this is what we're talking about, mithya and so on and so forth. And the best way, he said, which is I completely agree, it's just the way he said it is what is impressive, but we all know this. The best way to find divinity in other people is to discover the divinity in yourself. Because once you understand how my divinity is not ruling my life, how I am covering it up, making it oblivious almost, and I'm just acting as a normal, fallible human being. Once you see that process, then you can understand better how others are also doing the same thing, and that deep down below they have the same divinity that I have. So this is what Swami Vidyaranya was pointing out when talking about the analysis of Kutastha, that you have to, and so divinity is only one aspect of it, the other aspect of that is non-dependence on problems. I should see myself to be, even though I appear to be dependent on problems, but I should see my basic independence. And that requires mananam. It first of all requires shravanam, then it requires lots of mananam. So once that happens, when I am not at peace with the world because I am not at peace with myself. The best way to be peaceful for others. So forget about the talking of mithya for others and so on. That's just some words to be used. Well, I have to discover a fundamental state of peacefulness within myself, and also understand how I become non-peaceful. Because for a while, for a long time, you will stay as being non-peaceful. But then you have to start you're just smiling at the non-peacefulness. And then once that whole process becomes reality to you, and so therefore to close off, this is a very beautiful thing that Swami Maheshananji pointed out, that even though others may think of you as being a selfish person, in fact, secretly, you are becoming more selfless. How? Because you are now more accepting of others, because you are more accepting of yourself. Beautiful point. So that's kind of, yeah.
Someone asked a question, Shanti asked a question online. Shanti Kumar, how can we be unaffected by our experiences of sadness of current affairs with Advaita teaching is very fundamental.
So the question is, how can we be unaffected by the sadness and the
of current affairs
and so on? So the best way to do that is to embrace the presence of Ishwara. This is Ishwara's creation, and if things have to happen, they happen. And don't take responsibility for it. Do what you can in your own world. You have to blindly accept things, but have faith that whatever is happening is the will of God, and that it will all play out, and it will all end well. And if it doesn't end well for a while, so be it. But so you have to understand once, if you were to understand the presence of Ishwara in every aspect of it, then you will see that it is his play, and it is not just somebody just running amok without any. There is a reason for it, and it doesn't mean that you feel immediately good about it, but at least it will lessen the pangs of anxiety that one has, and then this too shall pass. And there's a storm going on, and at that point you cannot say what's going to happen about the storm. The storm will just go away. It will play out, and but at the same time, if you have to do something, if you have to vote, if you have to make some noise about this, do what you can. That is all part of it. But know that Ishwara is in charge and will take care of it. The way I would respond. That's my feeling. Yeah.
So while I'm in the process of finding the divinity and the peace within
Correct.
myself, which may take lifetime or very many lives,
Yeah.
should I also not be doing social work, helping the community and things like that? Otherwise, people are still going to think of me as a selfish person.
Yeah.
Just
No,
reading
I
books
think
and-
so the question is that while I'm involved in understanding the divinity in myself, should I not be involved in social work, etc., which was considered to be antithesis of this? So my feeling would be no. No, I think that the two are related in the sense that the service of the humanity, the helping others, being a contributor and so on, helps you to discover the divinity in yourself. So what should not be done is to take the view that service of the society alone will be enough. That may not be enough, because at the end of that, what have you found? You're still as a human being, which is martyaha. But if you were to inquire the reality of yourself, then of course you need to be loving and giving and forgiving and tolerant and so on. And to become a contributor, not just a user, is an important part of that. So the two become really part and parcel of the same thing. Yeah, very much so. Rani?
Isn't it also the attitude with which you do the service or the social work?
Yeah, so
not,
that's-
not ownership and more of an arpana bhava than taking credit, looking for credit in that?
Yeah, so Rani's point is that is the attitude in doing service not important? Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah. I think that doing social service, like for example in the case of Aim for Seva and so on, is useful in so many different ways. So many different ways. You know, teamwork is an important aspect of it. Another thing I find is that it is karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That does not become a reality for me until I get involved with something where I bring in Ishwara as a partner and say, you take care of it. As you know, in our Raj and Meera know it, that until about like a month of our last, all of you know it, that within a month of our event, we had very few people that had come in. It looks like it's going to be a failure. But you just do the best you can. Don't worry about it. This has been a phenomenal fundraising year for us. And I've known this now for so many years. You just do the best you can. Swami Paramarthananda says it best. He says you waste your energy in worrying. That same energy you should do in making sure that your effort is number one. And let somebody else worry about the results.
Just to follow up with this question from the same
Yeah.
person saying that should we take the person creating violence as Brahman as we
Of course, they are Brahman, so it's not a question of taking them to be Brahman or not. That's not your choice. They are already Brahman. But the ones that are acting in a very criminal way have such a huge problem that they are going to suffer and they're going to make others suffer. And so there is nothing else that you can do about that other than the fact that you just hope things will become okay in time. But their basic nature is Brahman alone. It is just the actions that are criminal, not the person that is criminal. Yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you.